comments. I'm excited everybody who's here to join us. And, if you have any questions, comments, we'd love to hear them. And even if you're watching this on replay, the podcast, listening to this, or you're watching it on one of the other channels, leave comments, leave questions. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are, and we will get to them. So please share. But if you're here live, be sure and get your questions in and comments in early, and we will answer them at the end. Today we are going to talk about a topic that I have been getting nonstop questions about, both from our patients, but also from physicians. Like I can't tell you how many physicians, friends of mine, who have forwarded to me the latest articles on what's being called this miracle weight loss drug, Tirzepatide, that was just published in the New England Journal of Medicine a week or two ago. I've had, I don't know how many people have said, hey, did you see this study? Did you, or send me the article or whatever it is. And there's just been such a buzz about it. I thought, you know what, we need to talk about this. So today's our opportunity to talk about this in more detail and give people the information that can be helpful for them that maybe isn't included in the newspaper headlines. So Riley, I know you've had some questions about this as well. What's been the thing that you heard about these medications? Like where do you think the things, what are people seeing these as, and what questions have you heard a lot about?
I think they're met with a lot of uncertainty, just because in the past, weight loss drugs have always been like kind of a disaster. And you said yourself, like they've been really sketchy and not good. Even like laxatives or something like that have been used in the past. So it's like, what are the long-term effects of these medications, and what's the catch? If it's that good if it's just going to make me lose weight and nothing else, what's the catch there? Because I think that just tends to be, something in life where it's like, you can't just have it all super easily, without there being some sort of, trade-off.
Yeah, that's exactly what my experience has been as well. And, when you read the newspaper headlines, I don't know what you, and speaking to anybody who's listening to this, what are you expert at? Like, what are you really knowledgeable about? And if you take a look at the newspaper headlines or the media stories, you'll recognize that most of the time, they don't really get the full story, right? It's over sensationalized, it's over dramatized, it's presenting just a sliver of all the information that goes into that topic, and you recognize that as an expert. Well, realize that from the other perspective, and I've kind of had to do that with myself, is that there's lots of topics, of course, I'm not an expert at, I don't know much about, but I've learned to be more skeptical about, claims, and especially if they sound too good to be true. I'm not gonna say I'm a born cynic, but I'm tempering my enthusiasm until I can look at it in greater detail. And I think that's been a common response and observation from people that I know, both doctors and patients, about these new medications. So what are these two new medications that are either here or coming? One is Semaglutide. Semaglutide is a medication that was released about a year ago. Hardly anybody's getting it yet, and we'll talk about that. That showed really remarkable weight loss on the medication. And then the latest one showing even more impressive results was Tirzepatide. And we're going to talk about both of those. The media's been portraying these as, miracle weight loss drugs, but we're going to do a deeper dive today, for people that are intrigued by these. There's a lot of people out there that are not happy with their weight. They They realize their weight is a factor in their health. They're concerned about their weight and how that's going to impact their future health, impact their future longevity, how it's affecting their quality of life right now. And so these medications and their miracle claims can be very intriguing. But on the flip side of that, what's the full story? And so we're going to talk about, are these medications really miracles? What are the downsides? You know, all medications have potential adverse effects, and these are no different. They do have potential side effects. And then the third thing, and I think this is the one I want to emphasize the most, because when I talk to patients, hardly anybody is saying, I want to be on medication for the rest of my life. You know, hardly anybody is saying to me, oh, give me lots of medicines because I want to be on lots of medicines. It's an interesting, the belief outside of a medical practice is that people just want a pill. And I've found that to be the exact opposite. Like almost, in fact, I don't know if I've ever talked to a patient that came to see me for, their blood pressure or their cholesterol or their blood sugar problems. And I said to them, okay, look, we can do this by addressing the root causes. We can, fix this by addressing those problems, the issues around nutrition, physical activity, sleep, stress, avoiding toxins, connection, the things we talk about all the time in our program, or I can give you a pill. I don't remember anybody saying, oh, just give me the pill. Like everybody wants to do this the right way. And I think the same thing applies on these medications. Like, one, why would you not want to be on medication for the rest of your life? Well, I don't think any of us want to be on medication for the rest of our life unless we have a compelling reason and benefit from that. And then number two, they're really expensive. Like, being on these medications for the rest of your life, that's going to be an expensive proposition. And so rightfully so, I think people are wondering, okay, if I start these medicines, am I dependent on them? Like, am I able to get off of them in the future? That's what I want to talk about, in more detail today. So let's start the idea that weight loss is a very big business. Now, weight loss is about 70% of us now in the United States are overweight. I know body mass index, it's fairly to have. And most of the people about weight, they attempt to one weight loss strategy a year. And this is a $70-80 billion a year business. But the problem is hardly any of these weight loss strategies work in the long run. Most of the studies show 80, even 90% of people who lose weight have regained that weight within a year or two of the strategy. There was one study, this was done in England, but I think it's really relevant and for us as well in the United States. It was over 175,000 people followed for 9 years. So this is a really long study. And they showed that the chances of somebody who was in the obese range, so that's a body mass index over 30, the chances of them getting less than or getting back to a normal body weight was less than 1%. So it was like 1 in 124 chance if you're a woman and 1 in 215 chance if you were a man. So it's a crazy good business to be in if you're in the weight loss business, because one, everybody's got it, and number two, none of the solutions work in the long run. So you have this recurring business model, this revenue model that can be really effective if that's your business, just not really effective if your goal is lasting weight loss. And Rylan, as you noted, the medications, as attractive as that option can be, they just haven't worked out very well in the past. Like people have tried laxatives, they've tried amphetamines, they've tried thyroid hormone, getting people up to high thyroid levels. All of those, of course, had terrible side effects to them. When I was first starting out as a physician, there was a drug, very popular weight loss drug called fen-phen, or fenfluramine, and it was shown to lead to heart valve problems. So it was taken off the market. Several others have been removed from the market. Sibutramine was removed after it was shown that they were associated with an increased risk for heart attack and stroke. Belviq was withdrawn when there was a suggestion of increased cancer in the early or just a few years ago. And there's other medications out now that have been shown to be safer, but they just don't result in much weight loss, whether it's 2%, 3%, 5%. Most people look at that and say, I don't know if the risk is worth the benefit, and they tend to be expensive as well. So the history of weight loss medications is such that it just doesn't make a lot of sense for most people, and they just haven't been prescribed very often. However, about a year ago, we had a new weight loss drug that really had amazing outcomes from the research studies that were done, and that was the drug semaglutide. So semaglutide is some people call it semaglutide, some semaglutide. Probably semaglutide is the more commonly used pronunciation of this. So this is a medication that has been used in diabetes, and it has really great outcomes. Like, it lowers blood sugars, it lowers cholesterol and blood pressure numbers, lowers the risk of heart disease, and has a mortality benefit to it. People that with diabetes that take it live longer than the people who don't take the medication. But one of the very nice, potentially very nice side effects of the medication is they noted that people lose weight on this as well. So what the drug manufacturer did was said, okay, well, if we test this at a higher dose and people that don't necessarily have diabetes, what's going to happen for those? And what they found was that the average person in the semaglutide group versus the placebo lost almost 15% of their body weight. So that was an average weight loss of over 30 pounds at a little bit more than a year. And so this is remarkable. Like, to lose 30 pounds on a medication, well, that's just never occurred before. Like we said, most of the weight loss drugs, a year or two later, 2 to 5% weight loss is typical. When we look at the best studied weight loss program in the published research, in the medical research, it's Weight Watchers. Their latest study, they show that they have at 12 weeks, they have about a 2 to 5% weight loss. If you go out a year, the weight loss between somebody who's on the Weight Watchers program and those who are not different, really. Like it's statistically the same. So to be able to demonstrate this kind of weight loss was really remarkable. And the other things that we look at were also better, meaning blood pressure, the cholesterol. These were also improved on the medication. So that was really exciting news. The issue with semaglutide has been that it's really challenging to get these days. They're having supply chain issues. The demand has been high for these medications, and they're just not available for new prescriptions. The drug manufacturer has put out a warning asking physicians to not prescribe the medicine for new patients because they can't keep up with the ones who have already started on the medication. They're saying that those issues will be resolved by the end of 2022. We'll just see, what happens. But in the meantime, we had another drug called Tirzepatide that showed even more amazing results. So Tirzepatide has the same mechanism of action as the Semaglutide. Is a GLP-1 agonist, but it adds additional action on it as well. It has an action on another substance, and its results were even more impressive. At the highest dose of the Tirzepatide, the average weight loss was almost 21% of body weight. That was like 48.4 pounds was average. In addition, they had lower blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol numbers all improved. In fact, every person in the study who had prediabetes were not pre-diabetic, at least by measuring their glucose levels at the end of this 1 year of the study. So, these were crazy results. I know from a physician standpoint, my physician colleagues are like, oh my gosh, we finally have an answer for all of our patients who are struggling with their weight. And, this really does seem like it'd be a great tool for us to have. And I agree. I think these results are incredibly exciting. I think that there's certainly a role for these medications, but I think there's a lot more to the story that people need to understand to be able to make the choice on whether they're the right, strategy for them. So let's talk about the negatives, the downsides potentially of these medications. And the first one that comes to mind is the side effects. So both of these medications work by lowering appetite, basically. Like they slow down food absorption and they decrease the amount of food people eat. That's their mechanism. They also work on insulin as well, but the biggest factor seems to be that they just lower the amount of food that you eat, and they lower the speed at which that is metabolized in your intestines. So as you can imagine, a medication that does that, what are going to be the most common side effects? Well, they're going to be related to digestive issues. So, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, upset stomach, abdominal pain, vomiting were all common in these trials. In both of them, they note that 80+% of people had a side effect, not always the digestive issues, but 80% had a side effect or a symptom that could be attributed to the medication potentially. However, less than 10% of people actually stopped the medicines because of those side effects. So I think that the point of this is a lot of people had symptoms that might have been related to the medication, but they were mild or they didn't last very long. Because 90% of people that were on the medicines continued them. Another question that I want to address is, do these medicines work for everyone? And the answer is no. About 5% of people in the Tirzepatide trial did not respond. They didn't lose any weight. And we don't know at this point how to identify the people that are going to respond and those that don't. And you can imagine how, disappointing that would be, especially if you're paying out of pocket for a, $1,500 a month medication to find out you're one of the people that it doesn't work for. So, we just need to learn more about that. But I think it's important to know if you're considering these, it's not a guarantee. And that average weight loss, impressive, right? But that's average. That means, of course, if you're on the other side, the half that lost more than that, you might be very happy with that. But if you're on the side the half that lost less than that, then it may not be. You might not be as happy. And then, one thing that really needs to be addressed is the cost of these medications. So Semaglutide is available commercially, as we noted. You're probably not going to get it if you're trying to start it right now, or it's going to be challenging. But hopefully that's going to change in the near future. But if you can get it, it's between $1,400 and $1,600 a month, depending on what pharmacy you go to. Now, insurance can cover this. There are some pretty big businesses out there that are banking on their ability to get insurance to cover it. If you're Medicare or Medicaid or some other government payer, Trinity, they don't cover these medications. A lot of the commercial insurance companies are going to make the process very challenging to get them approved because they are really expensive. So it's not a slam dunk. If you want to do this and you want your insurance to pay for it, it's likely going to be a challenging process that may not work out in the end. So, I guess the first question I wanted to answer today was, are these medications miracle weight loss cures? And the answer, of course, is no. These medications are not a cure. What they do is they basically decrease food intake, either through the mechanisms in the brain where they increase the feeling of feeling full, or because people feel a little nauseated and the stomach doesn't feel quite right and it just makes them not want to eat. That's probably the most important aspect of this, is that it just decreases food intake. And that's an important thing. If you want to lose weight, if you're going to address the most common barrier to weight loss, which is, the teaser, I guess, is what we're going to talk about in 2 weeks. One of the aspects that is going to be important to that is lowering the amount of energy that you take in. Now, that's so much more complex than it sounds, and if anybody tells you, oh, the secret is to eat less, well, that's okay, maybe true, but not helpful. There's so many different ways to, not just eat less, but also the what you're eating is really important in that as well. We're understanding that the calorie, while a calorie is a calorie, that's kind of thermodynamics and true. What is not true is that all food calories have the same effect on weight and satiety and fullness and all of those things. So there's a lot of complexity around that. But here's the part that I think is the most important when you're considering whether these medications should be a part of your strategy to achieve your health, your weight, and your longevity goals. And that is, well, lowering energy intake is going to be critically important. The other side of this is the thing that you can't ignore, is getting your metabolism to be working for you rather than against you. So these medicines are just not going to fix those metabolic issues for a lot of people. Like, they're just not going to give you all the life enhancing benefits of eating the right foods for you, being physically active in a way that feels good, getting restorative sleep, managing stress, avoiding toxins, being connected socially and to your purpose. These medicines can't answer all of those things. And so, to look at these medications as a cure is absolutely not true. They are going to be chronic medications that you will have to take forever if you don't fix your metabolism, if you don't do the things that you need to do to get your body using fuel in the right way for you. And so, if you're not going to change your habits, if you just want to take a medication, then your choices are really three things. One is you take the medicine for a short time and you get temporary results, but as soon as you stop the medication, you're going to regain that weight. That's already been shown, actually. Like, not only does that make sense, but it's been shown. There was a study where they had people on the semaglutide stopped it a year later. 2/3 of the weight loss had been regained, and almost all the numbers that looked good, the blood pressure, the blood sugar, the cholesterol numbers, were all back at the levels that they were before the medication was ever started. So that's one option. I don't think that makes sense to anybody. The number two option is, okay, well, I'm just going to take this forever. And, that's a choice, of course. Maybe you can get it paid for, or maybe you have the money to be able to afford $1,500 a month for this. All of those, if that's the case, then you're blessed. Most people are not going to be able to have the resources to do that. But I would also say, what are the long-term adverse effects of these medications? I don't know what they are. We don't know what is going to happen in the long term with these, medications. Do they continue to work? Do they have unintended adverse effects? I mean, I'm just more cautious about that, especially after our experience with the opioid epidemic, right? Like that's when business interests are put in front of the interests of our patients. The opioid epidemic is a great example of the potential long-term adverse effects. The short-term sounded great. We don't want anybody to be in pain, and we have medications that can alleviate the pain. But what we learned was the long-term adverse effects have been devastating, and lives lost, and in quality of life that has been, deeply impacted. Maybe we're seeing the same thing with antidepressants. I'm not an expert at antidepressants, but I think there's been more and more concern about the long-term effectiveness and potential adverse effects of the antidepressants, and we don't know what's going to be the long-term adverse effects or not of these medications as well. Are they going to remain effective? The third option is the one that makes sense to me, and really it's the only one that makes sense to me. Like I've decided that I am only going to prescribe these medications for people that are willing to work on also changing their metabolism with the ultimate goal of getting off the medications. And so, that third option is you use these medications as a tool to accelerate your progress while you are changing the habits that you want to change, that are going to improve the quality of your life, that are going to improve the length of your life, that are going to improve your health. These medications, though, can jumpstart that to get you off to a great start so that you stay motivated, stay engaged, and get your goals, faster, and it's more of an enjoyable process, because we know that it's hard. Like, doing these things, looking at the scale every day when you're trying to do this the right way, or when you are doing this the right way, it doesn't happen as fast as we'd like. Here's a way that we can jumpstart that, get people really motivated and engaged while we're doing the things that we need to do to get them the health and longevity goals that we know are ultimately what we want. So, in my practice, I've decided that I'm only going to prescribe these medications for people that want to make those changes, that want to get off of these medicines eventually. That's my goal. That's what I would need to be their goal. If your goal isn't that, like if you're like, okay, I just want the medicine, keep all the rest of that, don't worry, there's going to be lots of people that will provide that prescription for you, and the pharmaceutical industry is going to love you. But I think that there's a bigger goal here, a more exciting goal for you and for people that want to achieve their lasting weight loss, their health and longevity goals. There's a path to that, and I want to be a part of helping people find that path. So that's my take on the semaglutide, the tirzepatide medications. Tirzepatide, I should mention, is not available yet. It's going through the FDA approval process. Then it needs to be commercially available, and then we'll find out what the cost is. I'm hoping that eventually one of the pharmaceutical industry producers realize that pricing these medications at such high levels is just, eliminating most people from being able to get them. We'll see. I'm not an expert at it. They need to make money. I'm, all for them making money, but can we do this in a way where they make money and we have this more easily available to more people? I'm hoping that is something that can be figured out in the future. So that's it for the semaglutide and tirzepatide miracle weight loss cures. I don't think so, but potentially effective tools that can help you achieve your health, weight, and longevity goals. I'm excited about the possibility of using them as part of a comprehensive, personalized, connected care system to help my patients get the results that they're after. So, Rylan, any thoughts, questions from the audience? Anything that you've been wanting to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that really stuck out to me during this talk, and I just want to highlight on a little bit, is the difference between weight loss and health, because there's a weight loss industry and there's a health industry. And we constantly talk about, you're not losing weight to get healthy. You need to flip the script and say, I'm getting healthy first to lose weight. And these medications make you really think about that, and you brought up opioids, antidepressants, medications, almost being kind of like a cover up for something. Like maybe there's a reason you have pain that needs to be addressed in other ways. Maybe there's a reason you're struggling with your weight that needs to be addressed in other ways. Maybe, you're depressed because of other things. And these medications certainly have their place in getting you out of that, where you feel like you're in a lose-lose situation, getting you out of the rut, getting the results initially. But I just love how you paired it with, I'm not going to ever prescribe these unless someone is fully on board with, yes, but I'm going to do the things that, that I need to do to address those underlying causes as well. Because there's such a difference between weight loss and health. And if it's something that's just losing the weight, is it really making you healthier in the long run? Is it really going to increase your longevity and your health span in the future? Or are you just digging yourself into a bigger hole?
Yeah, amen. I feel really strongly about this because I feel for the physicians that were out there trying to do the right things for their patients with the opioids.
Right.
They were being influenced by, marketing and companies that had an agenda to drive their revenue, which companies, that's what they're supposed to do, right? It's, are they evil? I don't know. Maybe I think so, but in reality, that's what their purpose is to make money. That's stated explicitly in any publicly held company. They are there to increase shareholder value. And if they can do that and provide good things for their customers and clients, that's ideal. But again, number one priority, increase shareholder value. And then, these doctors are being influenced by that marketing, and they just want to do the right thing for their patients, right? Their patients are saying, hey, I have a lot of pain. They're being told by the pharmaceutical industry representatives and the medical literature at the time, oh, well, nobody should have pain. And these medicines are not as addictive as old, opioids and all this. I've often thought, how do those physicians feel today? That we're writing these prescriptions. I know there's some bad actors in all fields, but I will tell you, I know a lot of physicians, and I know very few that don't want to do the right things for their patients. That's the, maybe we don't always do it, but that's the intention. I don't want to be that doctor in 10 years. If we find out, oh, these medicines lead to this problem, and I was just writing them out, nonstop. I want to use them thoughtfully, but I want to use them as a tool to get people what I know they want, what they know they need, which is they want to be healthy. They want to feel good. They want to be confident. They want to, have great energy. They want to, do great things in their life. They want to be around for their loved ones. They want to make an impact on the world, and they want to be here participating fully in that life for as long as possible. That's what I want to help people do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really a whole metaphor for, discipline. And it's almost like prescribing that medication is like instant gratification. Like you make the patient happy for the time being and you say, okay, cool, I did my job, good luck. But there's a lot more to that. And I think that's a big problem we're seeing now in healthcare. Was that's how medications were. It was like, I fixed the problem, boom, good, everybody's happy. But in the long run, like, what is that turning out to be, and how is that affecting people's health span and the rest of their life? It's almost like, I was thinking, it's almost like a metaphor, when you're thinking, oh, like if it would feel really good to eat this ice cream after dinner, but what do I want in the long term? What do we want as, in the long term as a healthcare team, for this patient and, the patient included? What do you want in the long run?
Absolutely. I say this to my patients on a regular basis, is that, they have an opportunity to make choices for themselves. And if they don't want to make those choices, then there are big corporations out there that will make those choices for them. They're happy to make the choices for them. If they don't know what to do with their free time, Facebook, YouTube, Netflix, Apple, Disney, like HBO, they all have ideas for you. They have ideas. Is it best for you? That's not their concern, frankly. It's they want your eyes on their product, and they design that to keep you there. So if you don't want to make that choice, there's people that will make that for you. Same thing in the healthcare, though. You have choices that you can make. Don't be fooled into thinking you don't have control. If you know you have control and you decide, you know what, I don't want the control, I'm going to just turn it over to the pharmaceutical industry and the doctors and all these things to do it for me, that's your choice. But don't pretend that you don't have a choice in this, because you absolutely do. So I guess I want to take a step back. Like I think when it comes to medications, to pharmaceuticals, there's like, there's one side over here is like all pharmaceutical companies are evil and bad, and medications are a total scam, and they're just doctors. What did we get the comment last week about? All doctors are getting kickbacks on statins, and I had to laugh.
I was thinking, like, this is so ironic because, like, with antidepressants and like opioids, it's more true, or it was more true, and yet statins are still the most controversial thing for some reason.
It's crazy to me. Like, I don't know what you pay for your statin, but I'm telling you, I pay $3 a month for my statin. So if you really think that I'm getting a kickback when I write a prescription for statin, like, wow.
You can keep the 3 cents. I'll give you
exactly. Yeah, I'm not making any money when I prescribe statins to you if I think that that's the right thing for you. So, there's that side of it that just, automatically, no doubt about it. No, I'm not taking any medications because they all have side effects and they all have this and that. Although oftentimes I'll just say most of those people are taking a lot of supplements, which, I've never really figured that one out. But then on the flip side, there's people that are like, oh, well, a pill might solve this problem and that problem, that just sign me up. And then they end up on a list of medications that, is yay long. And, I'll go through it and I'm like, oh, why are you taking this medicine? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what. Yeah. Why are you taking this one? I think it's for my prostate. Okay. Does it help? Yeah, I'm not really sure. So I think that the sweet spot, of course, is in that middle where I don't want anybody to be on any medication that they don't need, like that is not giving them a clear benefit, or I don't want them to be on any medications that is harming them, that we don't know that there's a tremendous benefit to that. On the flip side, I don't want to miss any opportunity to help people achieve their goals, because these medications in the right patient, in the right situation, can mean the difference between life and death. And I think that's where, doctors need to come with their expertise, patients need to come with their preferences to make that decision as a shared decision.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
It's a team effort.
So Rylan, as usual, I talk too much, and we're 45 minutes into this, but so let's talk about next week.
Yes.
Next week, the most common barrier to lasting weight loss, chances are you've never heard about it. So Rylan, how many people have you talked to that have tried to lose weight, that weren't able to do it? And what's the most common reasons? Like, you've talked to hundreds of, maybe thousands of people that have that experience. What are the reasons that people will say why? Like, what are the barriers will they identify as why they're not losing weight?
I'd say number one, people bring up a lot is self-control, or like willpower, like that they
that's the most
like they just
common
can't
one
stop eating, or they crave something and they just can't not have it, or something like that, which is not true, but that's typically what people go to. Maybe sometimes it's I don't exercise enough, but most of the time it has to do with food.
Yeah, motivation, willpower, those are the most common. Sometimes people will say, oh, I just, it's my food intake, or it's my exercise, I'm not exercising, or something. But I will tell you that none of those things is the most common barrier. And in fact, I'm going to say, I don't think I've met a person who is at an unhealthy weight. And let's be clear what I mean by that. That's not a body mass index measurement. That's they're carrying too much fat for their health. I have yet to meet anybody who did not have evidence of this problem, this most common barrier, who is looking to lose weight. And in fact, 90%, well, it was 88.7. 88.7% of adults in 2016 had at least one sign of this barrier. Chances are it's higher now, and that's all comers. When you look at people that are overweight, it's going to be close to, if it's not 100%, it's going to be close to 100%. And most people have never even heard about it. So we are going to talk about that in our next session, and then even better, the next time. So we're going to plan 2 sessions ahead here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we are going to talk about how to overcome the most common barrier to lasting weight loss, and why eat less and move more fails. So I'm excited to talk about these. I think this is the crux of the biggest problem in healthcare. It's the reason why we have epidemics of chronic disease, and why diseases that we know how to prevent, heart disease, stroke, cancer, dementia, diabetes, why those are skyrocketing. AFib, fatty liver disease. Why are these diseases just out of control, epidemic levels, and why is healthcare not, stemming the tide of these? We're going to answer all of those questions. But more importantly to you, if you have been struggling with weight loss, or you need to lose weight for your health, or get healthy to lose weight, we'll talk about why that what the barrier is. Because by knowing the enemy, then we'll go to the next step, is how are you going to solve that? This information is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Don't make any decisions about your medical treatment without first talking to your doctor. Thanks for watching, and if you want to learn more about living a long, healthy life you love, click the link below to learn more about how we help people increase their health span. And if you like this video, hit the like button below, share it with your friends, and be sure to hit the bell and subscribe.